Good day, and welcome back to the Vitality Project. I'm Dr. Bob. Appreciate you joining me. Yesterday, we wrapped up our recent series of lessons where we were integrating what I see to be the three primary streams which inform all that I do here at your Vitality Project. Those three streams include contemporary clinical psychology, which is my background professionally, mindfulness practice and research, which has been a part of my personal life as well as my research study in the past, and finally the contributions of Carl Jung to both psychological and spiritual perspectives on our lives, including recovery. And as I shared with you, I've done intensive postdoctoral studies here at the local Jung Institute in the psychology and spiritual contributions of Carl Jung. What I'd like to do today is to return to our previous deep dive into mind-body bridging, which is a recovery resource. Really, it's a technology that was first pioneered by Dr. Stanley Block. He's here in the United States, up in Washington State. And his associate and my very dear friend, Guy du Plessis, who lives in Cape Town, South Africa. Stan and Guy published a workbook a number of years ago that incorporated mind-body bridging as a resource bed for addiction recovery. And as I've mentioned to you before, Guy and I are currently working on a newly revised volume, which will take that book and update it, revise it, and apply what we've learned in the last half a dozen years or so in addiction recovery. Our new revised version will focus on applying mind-body bridging to our understanding both of what gets us addicted in the first place and keeps us that way, and also what might free us from addictive behaviors and keep us that way free. We've discussed before, and I want to review this today, we've discussed how it is important to calm our bodies and center our minds, and that one of the ways to do that is to assess situations that we find stressful for where it is that we insert what we've talked about here and what mind-body bridging refers to as requirements. These are absolute inner requirements, my way or else. And what we've been working on is first identifying those requirements and then seeing if we can reframe our requirements or shift them from requirements into preferences. And that shift is more than just a semantic word game. It really has the possibility of impacting not only our minds and brains, but our entire bodies. I hope that you've continued to apply those resources that we discussed up to a few weeks ago when we moved into this most recent series on kind of the intellectual foundations of your Vitality Project. And we're going to come back to those now and deepen them even further. So what we want to do is take a look at, we're going to be going right into the heart of what causes us emotional distress and that makes us vulnerable to relapse to addictive behaviors. And I hope that you'll join me in this next series as we go deeper into mind-body bridging and addiction recovery. For those of you that are looking for sustained success in sobriety, this is where we're headed. For today, in the spirit of review, what I'd like you to do is write down a recent circumstance where you felt emotionally distressed. So write that down on a piece of paper, and then I'm going to ask you to identify any inner requirements that may have gotten activated amidst that distress, and as we'll see, probably made the distress worse. Let me give an example. Here's an example of a distressful situation where I would just write it down. She shouldn't have spoken to me that way. That would be the distressful situation and the requirement. You know what? I should back that up, because the distressful situation might be somebody got me angry, somebody got me pissed off, and then the requirement would be she shouldn't have spoken to me that way. And after that, I want you to write down any negative storylines that might have gotten stirred up for you. And I think you'll understand what I mean by negative storyline if I give you an example. Here's an example, and this is what we've called the depressor. The depressor is that piece of us that takes us down the sinkhole of shame and self-judgment. So the example might be, so somebody said something to me and it aggravated me. My requirement is she shouldn't have spoken to me that way. The negative storyline might be, I must not be worth much to have to take being spoken to in this tone or in this way. I must not be worth much. That's the depressor at work. And finally, I want you to write down how the fixer may have jumped in to try to save you from your distress. An example might be, well, after this interaction, which caused me distress, I went straight to the refrigerator and ate a big bowl of ice cream. That's the fixer trying to soothe us. So I want you to apply this to yourself. Find an example, a situation that came up this last week, write it down, analyze it in the ways that we've talked about it, and let's see what you come up with. In the meantime, I wish you well. Please stay safe and come back and join me again soon here as we continue to elaborate on and deepen into what can heal us from those things that enslave us or addict us. Take good care.